it's looking for those boxes to be checked. So even though that was all in the description, he was showing these dealers, look, I searched for a sunroof on your website. It's not here. Well, it's in my comments. Well, I know, but somebody narrows the search down. It's not there.
Don't wait around for the up bus. Get in the driver's seat and take control of your operations. Are you ready to increase profitability, have better processes, and get proactive with your operations? Welcome to the Up Bus Podcast. Here's your hosts, Jasen Harris and Jason Rice.
Hey, what's going on? Podcast Nation, is Jasen Harris here along with Jason Rice. That's right, the two Jasons. And we are here on the Up Bus Podcast. Dude, I'm telling you, I know I said this before, but this is like one of the highlights of my week, right? To be able to sit down, jam with you about everything and anything we all actually want to jam about. How's your week been going, Jason? What's up with you?
It's been good. Been good. So it's been an extended weekend at the Lake of the Ozarks.
Oh,
100-something degrees here. So at this point in time, it is.
Trying to squeeze in the last bit of summer as much as possible.
Yes, we are.
I'm actually excited this week, man. My house is the remodeling is finally done. And I'm actually moving in. It's only been like 9 months. So it's like, this is a big week for us. So I'm excited. And speaking of big weeks, we have a big topic today. Today we are, we're going to the spa. That's what we're doing. We're going to the spa. We're going to go get a little rejuvenation, maybe a little revitalization. All right, we're gonna put cucumber slices on our eyes, and we're gonna lean back to a mud bath. No, we're not.
Yeah, I think you lost a lot of people on that one.
I think I did. I think everyone just like tuned off real quick. Yeah. Today we're talking about revitalizing aged used car inventory strategies for turning slow-moving units into profitable sales. This is going to be a really fun topic, man, and I'm super excited to do this one with you because this is my jam. I like this stuff, you know. And this first one we got, the art of rejuvenation. Sorry, I keep thinking the spa thing, man. I can't get it out of my head. No, like reconditioning aged inventory is an art. It just is. I think reconditioning inventory in general is an art. And I've recently been on a lot of lots lately, used car lots, because I was out doing some dealer visits with some friends of mine.
Okay.
And I got to be honest with you, I feel like that art form has kind of been lost. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's because the last few years, if you had it on your lot and there was a price tag on it, you could sell it, you know? And it's like kind of getting back to, it's like, you know, now there's more inventory, more options, but love to get your thoughts and ideas on how we can recondition better strategies for reconditioning to enhance the value.
Now, are you talking recondition an aged car or a fresh car to enhance the value?
Well, I think because at some point in time, you're right. It almost has to go through a second day at the spa, right? You know, you get that first day, because how many times have we gone on a lot and you look at your aging inventory, you know, you can already see, you know, stuff starting to build up on it. You know, it was sitting underneath the tree. It's got sap pieces all over it.
Well, I mean, sometimes you got to take that aged car and replenish it, redetail it. Maybe the battery's dead eventually if it's sitting there, or we passed on something that maybe we shouldn't. But there's small things that I think that you could do too to enhance the value of the car. Examples, you know, we were a couple dealerships I was on, and we had it on an F-150. We had it on Jeep Renegade. A guy just did it on a Subaru. And all the three of these were black cars. Mm-hmm. And the back three windows weren't tinted. You know, they're just plain glass windows. So an F-150, I'm like, man, tint those back three. It'd make this truck so much better. It was a Subaru Outback. Same thing. It's a black Subaru Outback. As a matter of fact, they had hubcaps, but all the windows were clear. It's like, all right, go tint those back three or something and get this thing standing a little bit taller. So, and usually like a tint doesn't cost that much more money to do it. Or there's a Ranger's, there's a base truck sitting there, and he's priced competitively, but he still had a few grand left on it. And I'm like, man, what it costs to throw maybe some tires or wheels or both on that thing and maybe spruce it up a bit. So, you know, obviously reconditioning and what you spend there sometimes is tough because customers don't see all the stuff you did to it without you having to explain it. And then everybody else says they do 120 point inspection and everything else. But the stuff that could stand out, like I said, the little bit extras here. Throw that bed liner in that truck that's
There you
bed's
go.
all scratched up. What does it cost you? A few $100 at your cost. You don't have to put a spray in, just pop a bed liner in there, and tint the back three, and it's a totally different truck. The other hints will do. There's some of the other hints, and a lot of dealers do this. Some don't. I've seen enough that I would assume more don't do it than do. The back hitch on those trucks, and it's all rusted. I'm like, what's it take?
A little bit
Grab
of
a piece
paint.
of a cardboard to block the bumper, and to spray a little bit of black spray paint on that bumper so it don't look all rusted out and scratched up bed. Take spray and then throw a plastic bed liner in there, and it's a different truck.
It is.
Little things like that you could be doing to help those cars move quicker.
But it is those little things. I mean, I remember a lot of times those little things. Just like I used to have one guy at my shop, amazing detailer, and I could tell you he could take the ugliest set of headlights and just make them look brand new.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, nobody wants to buy a car with a faded set of headlights on it.
Yeah.
So I find sometimes cars will sit there and age, but it's the little things that are actually making it age.
Oh yeah.
It's like if we didn't just spend the extra 40 minutes to polish out those headlights and make them look nice and fresh.
Yeah.
If we didn't spend, another $20 to replace that cracked, hub, right, on the wheel, the cover, the wheel cover, right? Like
Yeah.
little things like this, I feel like sometimes can actually impact just the fact that they're aging. I mean, I love accessories. I'm in love with accessories. In fact, I mean, that's for me as a salesperson, and even when I owned my own dealership, I made a lot of money on accessories. I mean, as a salesperson, from a commission perspective, I sometimes make more money just on the accessories of the car than the car itself.
Yeah.
And I had this amazing used car manager that loved accessories as well, and I probably learned a lot from him. And he had that F-150 XL sitting on there with the extended cab. If you go on Auto Trader, there's like 5,000 of them. But hey, he threw a little leveling kit on it, a little 2.5-inch leveling kit on it, slap a little some more tires on it, and then all of a sudden, you took a car that actually wasn't making money. Now, because of the margins that was built into the accessories, you were making money. Like, I actually personally remember I had this one problem car, and Jason, it was really ugly, like super, super, super ugly, right? Like it was a Mitsubishi Mirage, which just is an ugly car from the beginning, right? Like
Yeah.
this one was like a super bright, like lime green one to top it off.
Nice.
And it was a manual transmission, and it had no air conditioning, right? Like, I mean, this is like everything working again. And it was higher mileage too, like everything working against us, right? But I remember some of the sales guys, they started nicknaming the car Yoshi, from Super Mario Brothers, little
Yeah. Green thing.
jumping around character.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, jokingly, like I've heard it called Yoshi so many times. Yoshi had been moved around the lot multiple times. It was an aging thing. I said, you know what, let's just embrace this. Someone go down to Walmart, find me some Yoshi stickers. Went online, we ordered some Yoshi floor mats. We put little hanging Yoshi in the thing. Then we retook the entire thing. I spent $152.16 on Yoshi crap. And then we redid the pictures. We called it Yoshi. I'm telling you, Jason, we sold it in a week after doing that. It was but it was little things, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you got a gamer who loves Nintendo, probably.
Yeah.
That would be the only person to probably accept that kind of car, especially if it's themed around their hobby.
Well, I think, but we have to approach each vehicle uniquely. But I think that, I mean, obviously we're talking about aging, and it's so funny. Every time we talk about aging, I'm like, okay, what's a good strategy for this? I'm like, how about we just don't let it age? Like that sounds like a better one, right? It's like, we're talking about reconditioning aging inventory for enhanced value, but like maybe we should have just reconditioned it well the very first time, and then we wouldn't have to be going back and doing that. But I find, I don't know about you, but there's different dealerships have different strategies when it comes to the reconditioning expense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I don't know. I mean, I've been talking to a lot of used car managers lately, and it seems like it's kind of up in the air as far as like the strategies. I talked to one dealership the other day, had a flat rate, no matter what the car was, no matter how many of them came in, it was just a flat reconditioning rate. Sometimes, the shop would make some, sometimes the shop would lose some. And then I have other dealerships that are more that traditional format where they sit there and argue back and forth on what actually needs to be reconditioned. I'm curious to see what you've been seeing with your own clients.
Well, we try to get them a little bit more disciplined, not to judge every car the same.
Hmm.
Because then, especially as hard as it was getting cars in this market, you can't underbid reconditioning by 500 or overbid it. You're missing deals, and then now as cars are depreciating faster, you could be buried in something. So you kind of want to be more strategic with what that's going to cost. There's great tools out there. I know like AccuTrade and stuff that can pop a VIN scan in or pop a thing in and tell you if there's been any codes and what to anticipate on this year model and what could be wrong with the car. So getting that the actual reconditioning during the bid process is so important to be able to acquire the cars. I would say the right cars, but sometimes you can't control what trades in. It could be the wrong car. That's probably hopefully how you got that Mitsubishi. You didn't actually go buy that thing at the
No,
land.
it came in on trade.
Yeah.
On trade.
So maybe you did want to miss that bid, but no, it's real important. And then the hard part is a lot of people appraising cars might not have the knowledge of what it really costs to recondition. We'll track that a lot of times in our system, and it's not as accurate. We're just tracking original cost to exit when the car exited cost, and if there's a $1,500 spread, we stamp that difference. And obviously an older car, let's say a 15, 16, has a higher, let's say $1,500 reconditioning average on it versus the 2022 you're selling has an $800 reconditioning. So if I just did a flat $1,000, I could be missing bids on the late models, the 2020s, over anticipating a reconditioning, and then I could be overbidding an older model car, or underbidding an older model car too when it's as far as reconditioning. I'm putting 1,000 when it's really going to cost me 1,200. Now I'm buried in that car a little bit more than I thought. We even broke it down by segment. Large pickup trucks
Yes.
have more cost than a compact car. So again, if you're bidding a compact car at reconditioning like you're assuming it's a truck, you're missing some of these compact car deals because you overbid 500 and you could have gave 500 more on the trade and got the deal. So understanding that is more important.
About some of this technology, because I've seen people utilize, and I love the trade-in technology out there. I love being able to capture this data and compare against real-time data, but there's still an art to knowing what the vehicle needs or what the vehicle doesn't need. And I find too often they just kind of put just a price in there and they just assume that's what it's going to be. I mean, I can't tell you how many trucks did I take in knowing that based on their mileage or something, I was either going to have an upper control arm problem or I was going to have a strut problem on it. Just if the truck was used for towing, it's like, if you don't know that, like, there's not a system when you're taking pictures and scanning it that that the owner used it for towing. Therefore, you're going to be replacing at least an upper or lower control, ball joints in the rear end of this thing if it's got a decent enough mileage to it. So I don't know. I love these systems, but then how do we be more accurate with that?
Yeah, you just got to have that knowledge and maybe work in that department for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I said when I mentioned AccuTrade, from my understanding, it's like they know a certain year and certain mileage that this particular vehicle, 70% of the time, has to have this replaced, and it's a $700 fix. So I don't know. Basically, when you plug in a code reader, if it could code, how much weight it's towed or not like that. But
Right.
that's just communicating with the customer as you're appraising the car and figuring out what they did with it and what they plan on doing on their next car, and you pick that information up.
Look, I actually think this is actually one. No, look, I think for a lot of people out there watching and listening, you guys might think this is a boring subject or boring, topic for this, but I actually get excited about these particular topics inside our operations because I still find that there are places that require just that experience, that knowledge, a little bit of an art form to understanding, what it is. And, you're like, okay, so, I know that this car is coming in and this Audi always replaces its belt at X amount of kilometers, miles, whatever, right? So on.
Yeah.
But, I like stuff like this. And this is why, so this good segue kind of into our next topic is like, now we're talking about like, okay, so reconditioning. I mean, I could probably go into a whole nother podcast about reconditioning because as we were talking, I was just thinking to myself, like, how many dealerships are actually doing the full recondition versus the partial recondition, and how does that ultimately affect? Actually, I am going to go down that rabbit hole. You know me, I'll find rabbit holes.
Yeah.
I'd like to get your opinion on this because I've seen like a 50-50 split on this recently, right? Dealerships that go full recondition versus dealerships that go that partial reconditioning and hold off on some of the stuff, till the vehicle gets sold. Do you feel like either one of those strategies either affect positively or negatively to the fact that they could be aging?
Yeah, here's a strategy I know some dealers used, and I thought it was pretty ingenious, and it's nothing new. But I'd be selective on it. Obviously,
Mhm.
you got a 2020 Escalade with 40,000. It's going to be a high dollar car that you want to make sure it's right. But you start looking at a 13 whatever, let's call it a Mitsubishi Galant, and it has 80,000 on it. So it's nice enough that you don't want to wholesale it, but it's going to take $3,000 to repair it, which just might not be worth it. Some of the dealers that I've seen do is actually put it through the shop, get the RO, the repair suggestions, and fix the ones that make it road legal and leave the other ones hanging, price the car accordingly. And then when the customer comes in, let them know, hey, the car's, street legal. It's everything's fine. It passed emissions, whatever your state requires. And then say, but when we also did the reconditioning, we found that this issue, and this issue. It's nothing that's a concern right now. But if you'd like for us to repair it, here's what it costs you in my shop. We can go ahead and get it done. So they actually just, itemize those repairs out to make it available to sell it cheap. But the customer's like, no, it's fine. My brother-in-law runs a shop. I'll have him help me and I'll do it myself, or I'll have him do it, or whatever the case is. So that customer might have been fine with buying it because it's, here it is at a $12,000 car, but to repair it, you'd have to charge 15, and that's going to be hard to find somebody to buy it for 15. So
Mm.
you put it out there for 12 or 13 and let them know here's $2,000 worth of stuff, but the car's road legal. So I think that's a smart move on those borderline stuff to be able to allow you to have, and people are doing that because they're shorthanded on cars, and or staff on top of it too. I made that suggestion to dealers just really struggling with having enough staff for turnaround times. Like, well, hey, why don't you get these cars called legal? Because he wouldn't market the cars and couldn't have them available for sale, slowing down his first sale rates. Like, get the car legal to be able to be drivable and buyable, and then just itemize this stuff out. And then when you can get it back in, and if somebody's interested in it now and wants to buy it, and they want the work done, then expedite it at that point in time. Or if they're willing to buy it without even getting the work done, go ahead and sell it. And then now you've just been able to turn that inventory faster. So hard part is this, again, all that. I know how people are. If you sell a car as is, customers really, you could explain it as many times as you can, and they're still going to come back and fight you or give you a bad review if something happened. But so documentation with that kind of stuff. But I think being selective and then taking opportunities, even if it's not the car, but your internal processes, because you're short staff,
Yes.
that's another option there for you.
Well, look, that's being proactive, and guys that you're out there watching, listening, like that is the whole purpose of this Up Bus podcast, right? Is if you're sitting around waiting for the Up Bus, what you're doing is you're being reactive,
Yeah.
So
And transparent. Being transparent. Customers like that. You're
Exactly.
being, hey, these are the things
It's being
wrong.
proactive. It's being transparent. Like
Yeah.
it's creating a better experience, and which is actually kind of okay. So this is a perfect segue kind of to the next topic. Is okay. So now we got this covered. Now talking about targeted marketing campaigns, right? I mean, look, I know that you review a lot of marketing data. I review a lot of marketing data, and I'm still. I don't know if I'm actually surprised. It's usually I'm not surprised when I go in to find out and I see the list of the aging inventory, then reflect that back to the marketing data and realize that most of this aging inventory was never even getting marketed in the first place, or was either marketed inaccurately.
Yeah.
Like, wonder why I got aged. But I'd love to kind of get your kind of thoughts on, trying to get stuff from stagnant to spotlight, and what kind of marketing campaigns can we do to not get the inventory to age?
Let's start with flat pricing. I'm looking at my other screen. I was on a call this morning. A dealer had a 2018 Alfa Romeo, and I'm going to pronounce the rest wrong, Stalivo, and then a quadra. I don't know. It was an SUV.
This is where we're just going to put the name of the vehicle right underneath.
Yeah. Anyways, he had that priced at 42, which was too high. Matter of fact, we think we needed to be closer to 40. And I told him, I said, you have to be at 40 grand on this car. 42.5 was 103%. 40 even probably put him at 98, 99%. And it was, 48 days old, should have been at 98% by then anyways.
Yeah.
So my point being is flat pricing. Why I wanted the 40 grand even, not 39,995, not 40,172, 40,000 even, because I want to capture that. No one's looking. My point with the Alfa Romeo, no one's going to Auto Trader. Man, I need an Alfa Romeo more than likely. They don't even know this car exists. I can't even pronounce it. So, but it's a slick SUV. Matter of fact, my wife and I were looking for a used luxury SUV between a used one, 35 to 50 grand. And we ran across a couple of these. So after we ran across it, we proactively started looking for that make and model. But the only way we found it is like, what's out there for 40 grand? Boom, here it is. Yep. And if you're at 40,172, you're missing that shopper. So flat pricing gets you bumped in that 20 grand, 19 grand, or flat 50,000, 25, 30,000, 40 grand. That helps that with that marketing. And then comments and descriptions, obviously, you know how to meta tag a website, right? That means if I'm in Olathe, Kansas here, Lenexus is down the street. Lenexa would be in my website. If Overland Park is down the street, okay, the city of Overland Park's in there too. So that way, if somebody's in Overland Park, and my website will pop up, even though I'm in Olathe. So you need to do the same thing with your comments. If you got a sunroof, don't just put sunroof, put sunroof/moonroof, because somebody might be searching for a moonroof and you put sunroof, you're out. Panoramic roof, put that in the description, but somewhere in the description put sunroof or moonroof, because it's technically the same thing, right? So customer might not know it's called a panoramic roof. They just want a roof. So things like that you can do to help expose these cars better, to make sure you get that exposure. And here's the other trick that we're learning too, is some of these dealers, and Steve Everhart, one of my reps, was showing me this. He was seeing as one of his dealers where they're using a lot of these AI chat GPTs to create whatever.
Yeah. I think it's a wonderful idea.
Yeah. You could just say, give me a review or a description of a 2018 F-150 XLT Lariat, or what? Lariat, right? With the 5 whatever. Or 2 point whatever. And so they dump it in and it spits out this great description, and guys are copying and pasting and putting it in their comments. And that's great, but they got lazy with the rest of it. What I mean by that is when your inventory syndication tool, whatever tool it is, pushing it out to Auto Trader, Cars.com and so forth, they're not necessarily on their left rail when people say, hey, I want a sunroof, or I want nav, or I want whatever equipment. It's not really looking at the description so much. They're looking at the boxes that you checked. It has the 302A, which means it has leather seats, heated seats, and a sunroof. And it's looking for those boxes to be checked. So even though that was all in the description, he was showing these dealers, look, I searched for a sunroof on your website. It's not here. Well, it's in my comments. Well, I know, but somebody narrows the search down. It's not there. So as dealers are starting to use this comment builder that's kind of automatic through Chat GPT, which is great, make sure you go back and check those boxes, and even the back end of Car Gurus, no matter how it's sent to them. If you don't go into the back end and check, they have like 10 or 12 boxes to check off, features, sunroof, nav, whatever. Go back there and double down on those features so you can show up in there. And it becomes from a good deal to a great deal, or from a fair deal to a good deal, because you specified to Car Gurus that it did have that sunroof. Okay. So it's little things like that is going to help.
I could do a whole podcast on the good price, fair price. I don't know. Maybe we'll save that for another podcast. I got some feelings about that. Like I'm like, it's already a race to the bottom. Let's just let somebody else define what that bottom is. Anyway, I digress. I'm going to get heated up.
Another rabbit hole.
I'm going to get heated up here in a minute. But I'm so glad you brought up the point of the comments, because like, I think it's a lost art. Too often did I just see like the exact same comment for every car, just copy and paste it for every single one. That drives me bloody bonkers when I see that.
Well, not only that, sometimes your own website will provide this information. If not, go to like cars.com or Auto Trader, wherever you're listing your inventory, and try to isolate your inventory on those sites. Then what's cool from there, once you isolate your inventory, use their left rail. And you could see, okay, if I check sunroof, 2 cars pop up and you're like, shit, I know I at least got 10 cars with sunroof. All right, fix that. Find those cars. The other thing, the biggest one, is interior, exterior color. And what I found mostly, and I will go to, like, if I'm going to a demo, I can pull up somebody's, let's say, inventory on Car Gurus, and I'll see an interior color, and it'll say red, or gray, tan, whatever, right, black, and then other. And so there'll be 20 in other, which means they got 20 cars with no interior colors on them because all they did was it had black.
Mm-hmm.
It can work opposite on exterior colors too, because maybe there's a new color that came out that we know it's black, but it doesn't decipher that way. Let's say, for example, onyx black, right? It's not a new. Let's say that new color came out, it's onyx black. Well, and you send it to Auto Traders, onyx, and they don't know onyx is black, so it goes in as others. So there's things like that, but it's mostly on interior colors. And here's the problem with that. I think the lower funnel customers are,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I want gray with black interior, or I want white with tan interior. And then if you're not showing up because you didn't include your interior color, you're missing those lower funnel shoppers. And so again, it could be something, going back to the basic, is something simple as not including tan interior.
Well,
And
that happens a lot. I mean, I remember when, me and my wife bought our first minivan when the kids were born, right? And I told her, I'm like, here's a list of dealerships I work with. Go, just, let me know if you see something you like, right? And she's like, okay, well, I noted it down. I want a town and country. I was like, okay, that's cool. Here's the 9 Chrysler dealerships I was consulting with at the time. It's like,
Yeah.
She came back to me. She goes, well, I only found 2 with the sliding doors, the power doors. What? No, you didn't.
I'll have them.
Like,
Yeah.
every single town and country has it. She goes, no. I went through it. I did the search. It was, to your point, only 2 out of 47 vehicles between those stores that fit our parameter actually had that marked off as a feature. And then not only to top it off, those were also the only 2 that took a picture of that. So she's like, no. I checked all the other ones. None of them have a picture of it. These are the only 2 that show the button for it. And I'm like, there you go, guys, right there.
Well, that's what I did when I was, what was it? When I was selling cars, we learned to go over the crumble zones underneath the hood, or the side intrusion beams on the door to protect the customer if there was a side, you got T-boned. And it's like, every car had that feature, but none of the salesmen pointed it out. So it sounded like your car was a better car than the other car they just looked at, because they had crumble zones and side impact, those type of things. So same with your descriptions. I mean, every car has a power window or powered slider, but if you don't show it to them, they're going to assume it don't have it. Or if you don't put it in your descriptions, right?
And it's funny that we talk about descriptions. I love the fact we're using ChatGPT to actually do that, because I think for a long time we just got too lazy about it, right? But the descriptions are super important. I mean, it's the story of the vehicle. I buy into the story before I buy into the product. Like, let me read the story. Here's the one thing I will say: just highlight the vehicles that are being sold privately and read through those descriptions, because they're awesome. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like people that sell their vehicles privately understand the concept of description much better than our industry does, because they're like, I bought this car 2 years ago for my daughter. She used it to travel back and forth between university. The first year I did this, and this on it. Before she took it out, I bought these, and these, and it has
got a new battery last week.
The whole thing is just like all written out there.
And all the equipment that they bought can make sure I paid up $3,000 to have this, and this, and
But anyways,
well, that's the other thing. Well, here real quick too is aftermarket stuff. Like, I drive a truck, and I've got aftermarket wheels and tires and mud guards, and and power lift the pedals. I'm looking out there, or power lift the steps, and but if I traded this in, I guarantee you they're not breaking down the brand of the, hey, it's got Mickey Thompson tires on them that are $500 a piece. So, a dually. So you're talking $3,000 worth of tire, whatever, $3 to $4,000 worth of tires. It's got these wheels that are retail at this, and the power steps retail at $2,500. They don't. That's the other thing I've seen about lifted trucks. They just assume the pictures are taken over. It's like, hold on, you got Fox shocks here, and those are how much? And what about these? These Rhino wheels? How much are those a piece? And there's 5. Okay, and those, put that in the description, like you said, private sellers would.
Oh, and not only that, they'll actually tell you how much they spent on it.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I
know,
spent
like I'm in market for a classic car, so I'm kind of shopping right now. I don't know, like I'm like bouncing all over the place between Mustangs and classic trucks and just a little bit of everything, right? But like I love reading through these descriptions. They're like, "Yep, it's been my project car for the last 5 years. I got $30,000 invested in it, and I'm selling it for $22,000."
letting it go. Yeah.
You but no, I mean, I know we'll get off this, guys. We beat this drum really hard, but again, this is just about being proactive. It's the little things, all right, that make up big deals and ultimately affect if the vehicle actually will age out or not. And that now I think goes into the strategic approach now of maximizing profit for aging inventory. We've talked about this a couple times, right? That 0 to 30 days or that 0 to 27 days. Do you go 103%? Or do you keep it 97 and rotate through? Like aging inventory happens because we allow it to happen. It doesn't happen on its own. It happens because we allowed it to happen. So I'd like to pick your brain, man, on some of the kind of different approaches or different strategies.
Yeah, I mean, an age car. The decision was made at day 10 that made it age, not day 60.
Interesting.
Maybe decision was day one when but yeah, it's usually happened at day 10, day 14, where you didn't make the right decision at that point in time, and then they tend to make the decision when it's age because it's acceptable to take a beating at
Mhm.
on an age car. You just didn't want to take that. It's usually not looked upon as a good thing to take a short deal on a fresh car, but it's okay to take a short or a loser on an age car. That's typically how the industry works.
So once we start calculating out things like holding cost, and I think it's what the efforts we need to put into that first. Well, to your point, so I like this. So 10 days. So okay, look, the goal's 30 or 27, whatever you want to call it, right? All right, at 10 days. All right, let's say I want to create a process. I really want to process this. Like at 10 days, what kind of conversation do I have about that vehicle that's going to make me go left, right, up, or down? Like what things should I be asking myself?
Well, typically they're going to be like, well, the photos aren't done yet, so give me a little bit, or the photos just got done, so give me a week or two because it just got hit my lot. Okay, well, in the meantime, for those 10 days, you didn't do a full description because you're waiting to see what everything was being done on it and what the car had. You don't have a full set of photos. You marked it up to give it a shot. I also ask them, if we all agree the best time to make the most money on a car is day one or within the first 30 days, do we want to increase or decrease the odds of it selling in the first 30 days? Well, I want to increase it. Okay, well, pricing 104% with crappy descriptions and minimal photos, what are we doing? Are we increasing or decreasing it, right? So all these things we're talking about refreshing an old age car to get it gone, we should be doing that with that fresh stuff too. And so if you're not doing those decisions and those tough decisions at day 10, going, all right, I know I just got it out. I know it just hit my lot, but I really just need to get this inventory moving because we're slowing down and I'm losing money. Now put it at 98% instead of 103 just to give it a shot because you just got this. Now it's day 20 and you're finally going to 100%, but you're really not even doing that because here's what's happening right now. I just showed it to a dealer today. He had a car at 103. It was maybe one of these. And he changed the price a couple days ago after 20 something days.
Mm-hmm.
And it was $1,000 swing between his original price and where he is now. It was $1,000 swing, but he went from 103 to 103. Like when he put it out, I think it was like 43.9. It was 103. It went 20 something days. He dropped it $1,000 and he's back at 103. So now he's at, instead of 23.9, 42.9, but he's still at 103, which didn't work a month ago either. So
That's how fast
what he
things
needed to do to drop it 1,500 to $2,000 to get it from 103 down to 100, but he's not going to do that. So because he don't want to lose 2,500 bucks, so he already dropped it $1,000. He needed to drop another $1,000 to 1,500. He needed to drop it $2,000. So he just didn't react fast enough. He's 2 to 3 weeks off pace on where he should be. So instead of dropping it 2,500, should only have to drop it maybe 500 because he's been moving it throughout that cycle. But
because that's just how fast things are moving right now, right? So I want to go back because like I see this happen a lot. Vehicle comes in, we take a minimal photos, 3, 4, 5, maybe 10, whoever knows, right? Whatever minimal, we'll just whatever the word minimal is, right? And then it goes through its whatever 7-day, 5-day sometimes 10-day. I don't know, whoever's got the better process, of going through the shop for everyone it needs, getting it detailed, so on and so forth. But I am, to your point, because I see this happen all the time, it's minimal photos, not very super clean as far it is, and it's being priced at 103 because it's brand new. So we have this idea, because it's brand new on my lot, it should immediately go there, versus having, I think, kind of the strategy that you were talking about. It was like, no. We go 102, 103 on vehicles that are hot, sexy, and ready to go. So like, would you, and I'm just curious if you would recommend this, would you go for that initial period, keep it at the 97, 98, after it's done its full detail and we have all these beautiful photos and better comments on it, bump it up to the 102, 103? Would you recommend a strategy like that?
Not in today's market, no.
Okay. And tell me why, because I'm curious.
Well, because the market's moving and things are moving slow. The customers aren't there. Again, it depends on the car, I guess. We have taken an aged car and raised it just to see if we can stir the pot. Somebody call and say, "Hey, I saw it last week at this," but that's kind of a last ditch effort. When cars were appreciating, yes. When cars were flying off the shelves, yes, maybe. Your reconditioning shouldn't reflect what the cars sell for, right?
Yep.
So a lot of guys, I can't price the car yet because the reconditioning aren't done yet.
No, usually pictures are the excuse. Also,
I don't know what I owe on it. So to your point, if I spent more now, if I put some lifts and tires on it, I guess yes, and maybe I missed that if that's what you did. But if you just did normal reconditioning and you just spent another $1,500 to get it fixed, just to go back and raise your price $1,500 and not describe it in your description. Hey, we just put in a battery, this, and this. No. You know what I'm saying? And then, because it always goes back, and that's we've said this for 20 years. It's like, what you owe on the car is irrelevant to what it's worth. We say that to customers all the time. Customer says, I want 19 grand. Well, we show them 15. You're like, where are you coming with 19? Well, that's what I owe. And what do we say to the customer? If you owed $1, is your car worth $1?
Yeah, exactly.
No. So then in the meantime, and I tell this, you guys say this to customers all the time on the lot. But then when you turn around and look at your inventory, you're pricing it at 103 because you own it at 109. And even though you're losing $2,000, you just told me they don't sell at 103. They sell at 97. So all we're doing is, we're hypocrites. we're telling the customer one thing and then we're doing the opposite. Or, we're doing the same thing.
But look, there's a lot of proactive dealers out there that aren't doing it that way. They are looking at the numbers. They are making decisions that are data driven. And then that's the whole point of us guys just doing this podcast. It's just, look, aging happens because we allow it to happen. And to your point, Jasen, you said it, right? Aging happens in day 10. It's whatever decision you make at that point is what's going to determine if it's going to be an aging unit. So, I mean, when we've talked about everything from reconditioning, we've talked about marketing, we've talked about just how to maximize those profits. But at the end of the day, it just all comes down to just being proactive and not necessarily reactive to it, and allowing that data to tell the truth. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Let the car tell the truth, or the customer, the market tell the truth too.
Hey, Jasen, I know we're at the tail end of our conversation. This has been a great conversation. Thanks for taking some time to come to the spa with me so we can talk about rejuvenating, revitalizing our aged inventory.
Your feet are looking great.
You like my nails? You like my
pedicure, Medicare?
Hey, for everyone out there watching, listening, we really appreciate your time. Please make sure to check out theupbus.com, all right, for more information and additional episodes. Everyone, you have yourself an amazing day. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to the Up Bus Podcast with your hosts, Jasen Harris and Jason Rice. To stay up to date with all our content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcasting.